Hey everybody, welcome to episode 200 of NoDQ&A video. That's right, 200 episodes now, right here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for all your support over the past year and a half. Thank you for the shout outs on Facebook and Twitter and wherever else. You guys help make NoDQ&A video what it is, so thank you for that. I have a ton of questions here. I'm going to try to get through as many as humanly possible before my voice completely gives out on me, so let's get right down to it. This is from Andrew Holly 1. What are the repercussions going to be for CM Punk hitting the fan? And do you think he's justified by doing it? I do. They shouldn't crowd around him like that, even though I would. Happy 200th video, by the way. Well, thank you for that. This is the big topic going around the wrestling world right now. CM Punk accidentally hitting a fan at Raw this week. In my opinion, it was just a bad situation. You had CM Punk in the crowd. You had people shoving him. You had people hitting him in the back of the head. So you asked me, do I think CM Punk was justified? Absolutely. CM Punk was defending himself, and he was a victim here. And definitely the guy that got hit by accident was also a victim. He just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. The problem here was really the security. Normally at these events you have 4 or 5 security guys whenever WWE goes into the crowd and you have people brawling. Usually there's several security guards. In this case, security completely dropped the ball. So if anyone's to blame, it's them. And it wasn't until after the fan got hit that you finally had one security guard finally come up there. So it was just a bad situation, and I don't know if this guy is going to take legal action against WWE. Hopefully it gets settled without too much controversy. Maybe WWE will offer him some free tickets or pay him off, something like that. I mean, I feel really bad for the guy, but it's just one of those situations where you have a bunch of rowdy people doing stuff they're not supposed to do. I mean, you never put your hands on the wrestlers. That's an unwritten law, so to speak. So yeah, I mean, I don't think CM Punk is going to be in any kind of serious trouble with WWE. I think anybody else in his situation, whether it be John Cena or anybody else on the roster, if anybody was put in CM Punk's position, they probably would have done the same thing. What are your thoughts on Sonny's recent arrests? I think it's just sad. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about it. I think that clearly Sonny has some substance abuse issues, and she really needs help. I mean, WWE has been sponsoring rehab for her, but she keeps having these setbacks, and I mean, it's been 5 arrests in a span of 2 months. I mean, that's really bad. I'm not sure why she's able to keep being released, and the cycle just keeps repeating itself. I mean, I don't know if jail time is the answer. I mean, she really needs more rehab, and just she needs to be able to clean herself up. And I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I mean, I wish her the absolute best, and I hope she gets the help she desperately needs at this point. Congrats on 200 videos. What are your views on Zach Gowen? I think he was one of the hottest wrestling commodities in 2003. I was really happy for Zach Gowen, somebody who lost his leg, was able to live his dream. He was able to be a WWE superstar. I didn't think that it was something that was going to be a long-term thing, and it wasn't. It was like a novelty act, but he did get to be in there with some of the biggest names in the wrestling business. Hulk Hogan, Vince McMahon. I mean, Zach Gowen got to live the dream. So I'm really happy for the guy, and he made enough of a name for himself in WWE that he was able to continue working on the independent scene and getting bookings. So very happy for the guy and glad he got to do that run in 2003, definitely. This is from The Practical. Hey Aaron, congratulations on 200 episodes. Thank you for that. How does WWE consider Cena a face when he gets more heat than the heels? Well, he gets a lot of heat, but he also gets a lot of cheers too. I mean, when John Cena comes out, he gets a 50-50 reaction most of the time. And he is WWE's biggest merchandise seller. That's why they don't turn him heel, because he sells the merchandise and he's extremely over with women and children. And he is the representative of the company. He does all the media interviews and all the public appearances, and he is their face, literally, of the company. So that's why they consider him to be that person, and why they don't want to turn him heel, because then they have to find somebody else to be the face of the company and be the representative of the company. And they just don't have a suitable replacement for him yet. And some would say CM Punk, but John Cena's, you know, the clean-cut Superman type guy. I mean, he's perfect for that role, to be the representative of the company. Please answer in video. I've always wanted to know how wrestlers plan out a match. Do they sit in the back and just talk about the spots they're going to do, or do they actually get in the ring and plan the match? Both. I mean, it's definitely changed over the years. I mean, back in the 80s and before that, you know, Ric Flair's talked about this, like him and Ricky Steamboat would just go out there and wing it. They wouldn't rehearse any spots. They would just go out there, and the chemistry would just be there. Nowadays, it's a lot more choreographed, and they do talk about it in the back. They also, before the show, they will come out to the ring and they will rehearse their spots. They'll go over everything they're going to do in the match. So it is rehearsed and choreographed, certainly more than it was in the past. And whether that's a bad thing or not, that's for the individual to decide. Depends on what your taste is. Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat had some great matches, but some of the best matches in wrestling history have also been largely choreographed. I mean, Hulk Hogan versus The Rock was very well planned out in advance, and with those two guys, you kind of have to plan it out, because if you didn't, it would just be too sloppy and it would be too much of a cluster. So in some cases, it's good to choreograph. Same thing with cutting promos. Some guys can just wing it, and some guys, they need to rehearse their lines, and if they're not really that good to begin with when talking, sometimes they need to have the lines rehearsed and planned out in advance what they're going to say. So it works both ways with the promos and with the matches. This is from B Cruz 16. Hey Aaron, in your opinion, what is your top 3 favorite Hell in the Cell spots? Well, the obvious ones: Mick Foley being thrown off the top of the cell through the table, Mick Foley being choke slammed through the cage, Shawn Michaels being knocked off the cell. I mean, there's your top 3 right there. But one I would like to mention that some people might not remember as much was the end of the Batista versus Triple H Hell in the Cell. Batista was picking up Triple H for the Batista bomb, but Triple H had the sledgehammer, and you weren't really sure what was going to happen. Would Batista hit the move, or would Triple H hit him with the sledgehammer and win? So it was a big dramatic way to end the match, and I thought it was really well done. And Triple H was like holding up the sledgehammer like he was going to be able to hit Batista, but then he just lost power, and Batista was able to hit the move and win the match. I thought it was a really cool finish. So that one would be those would be my top 4. Let's just put it that way. This is from Dan 2007. Hey Aaron, I don't know if you've been asked this, but who are your top 5 favorite wrestlers from TNA, excluding guys that formerly wrestled for WWE, and what is your favorite TNA pay-per-view also? My favorite TNA wrestlers that are TNA bred talent, guys like Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles. Those would be my top 3 right there. My favorite TNA pay-per-view, I mean, they had a lot of good Bound for Glories. Most of the Bound for Glory pay-per-views were really solid. And same with the Lockdown pay-per-views. I think my favorite TNA pay-per-view overall would, number 1, because I was there, would be Turning Point 2004, when you had the 6 Sides of Steel, America's Most Wanted versus Elix Skipper and Christopher Daniels, and Skipper did the walk on the top of the cage. I mean, my friends and I, we were there. We thought that Elix Skipper was going to die. It was a crazy moment, and it was just a really fun atmosphere. I mean, TNA was a rising company, and people were really into the product back then. But I'd have to say, from a non-biased perspective, my favorite TNA pay-per-view would be Lockdown 2008. I really felt that TNA was at their peak at that point in terms of feeling like a major league wrestling promotion. They had a huge crowd for that event, and they had a main event, Samoa Joe versus Kurt Angle, that was built up well, and it really felt like a big fight. It had a big fight feel to it, and the Lethal Lockdown match was really good. Just a very solid card, and all the matches were very entertaining. So I would have to go with Lockdown 2008. Hey Aaron, love the show. How much creative input do the WWE superstars have in the writing? I heard somewhere that Triple H had complete creative control over his character, including his title reigns. Where do the other guys rank? Well, certainly guys like Triple H and The Undertaker, and a few years ago Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho. These guys do have more control over their storylines and the direction of their character than your average person on the WWE roster. That's a definite. And I remember, you know, Triple H and Undertaker for WrestleMania. They pretty much had control over what they were going to do with their storyline and how it was going to play out and the promos and everything. But still, for the most part, the writing team controls the aspect of the storylines, and even guys like Batista were heavily scripted by the writing team, and when Batista would come out and do promos, it was almost word for word from the script. But this goes back to that earlier question. You know, somebody like Batista might not be able to wing it as much as other guys, and he needs more direction. So it really depends on the person too. This is from Hampalicious. Congrats, Aaron, on 200 episodes. Thank you very much. How exactly was WCW losing tens of millions of dollars a year? What were they doing differently business-wise from WWE? For one thing, it was the huge guaranteed contracts. WCW was offering a ton of money to almost everybody on their roster. I mean, guys at the bottom of the card were making six figures. Guys that really weren't delivering numbers or selling merchandise or really weren't adding anything to WCW's bottom line. They were being paid huge amounts of money, and guys would still be paid even if they were suspended or if they got injured. They would just sit at home and collect a paycheck. In WWE, it's different. Guys still have a guaranteed downside contract where they're guaranteed to make a certain amount of money, and then they'll get paid more based on performance, like if they sell merchandise or if they're performing on a house show and it does a huge crowd, stuff like that. But in WCW, when things started to go downhill and they started losing in the ratings and house show attendance dropped, these guys were still being paid the same amount of money regardless of how the product was doing. And that's when WCW started bleeding money, and just a lot of bad decisions. I mean, in 1999, WCW was bringing in all these musical acts, you know, Master P and Kiss. I remember, I don't remember the figure exactly, but they offered Kiss a huge amount of money to play on Nitro, and it did a terrible rating. It completely bombed, and that's a perfect example of WCW just throwing away money, basically. And they weren't able to stop the bleeding, and that's ultimately why they went out of business. The thing with WWE is that when they start having a downfall in terms of the interest in the product, they're able to stop the bleeding. They'll cut people. They'll do things. They'll cut corners. You know, they'll cut down on production costs. WWE is a really well-run business, so when business starts to go down, they can stop the bleeding and stay profitable. And that's ultimately how you stay in business. This was from Maddie Dawn. Do you think the Undertaker versus Orton match at WrestleMania 21 was one of the best ones of Undertaker's streak. It was definitely one of the most underrated Undertaker matches, but this is also a little bit of a biased answer here because I was at WrestleMania 21. But I have to tell you, I thought that that was a tremendous match, and the crowd really bought into the idea that Randy Orton could beat The Undertaker and end the streak. And to me, that makes the match a huge success. When Bob Orton came out and got involved, and Orton was going for the pin on Undertaker, people thought that that was it. So the match, I thought, was a huge success, and people don't really talk about it that much. They talk about The Undertaker versus Michaels and Triple H and even Edge, but I thought Undertaker and Orton was a better match than Undertaker and Edge. But that's just my opinion, and it might be a little biased, but that's what I think. Hey Aaron, my first question. What did you think of Vengeance 2005? I thought it was the best pay-per-view of 2005. This goes back to earlier with the Hell in a Cell with Batista and Triple H. I thought that that was an awesome match, and Vengeance 2005 was a really good pay-per-view. I mean, it was it had a lot to live up to because it had to follow ECW One Night Stand, but I thought that it was a great pay-per-view, and certainly the second or third best pay-per-view of the year, next to WrestleMania and One Night Stand. Maybe second. See, WrestleMania 21, I've talked about it before. I thought the first half of the card was great, but the last couple matches of WrestleMania I thought were big disappointments. So I might put WrestleMania 21 number 3 of the best pay-per-views that year. Number 1 being One Night Stand, and then Vengeance, and then WrestleMania 21. This is from, I'm not even going to try to, Hazaba Ahmed 2. I'm sorry if I botched that. I don't know that why Aaron thinks the younger people don't like Goldberg. This is 2012, mate, and younger audience watch more retro stuff than current wrestling. So 90% of viewers still know about WCW, Goldberg, and NWO. Have you been to a live event? I'm just asking you that question because you say that you assume that the vast majority of the wrestling audience is familiar with WCW, and that's just not the case. When people chant Goldberg, it's usually a very vocal minority of people. You have a small amount of people that are close to ringside, and obviously those are going to be more the hardcore fans that buy tickets on the floor, and they're the ones that are going to start the chants. But I've been to so many wrestling shows, and there are times like I see people around me chanting Goldberg, and I was at this house show in Anaheim this past weekend, and this is a perfect example. Our group decided to start doing a Goldberg chant when Ryback came out just because we wanted to be smarks. But when we started doing this, like pretty much everyone in the crowd looked over at us and gave us a dirty look. They were like, "What the hell are you guys doing? Why are you chanting Goldberg? What's this about?" And you just look in the crowd, just pay attention. I mean, this is something that I do for a living. So when I'm at WWE shows, I'm scanning around the crowd and seeing how they react to things. And I'm just telling you, they are the kind of people, most of your WWE fans are people that work 9-to-5 jobs. They come home, they'll tune on Raw, they'll just watch it casually. They're not going on NoDQ.com. They're not following the internet and watching wrestling videos on YouTube. You just have to take my word for this. It's not the case. If Goldberg was such a big deal to 90% of the viewers, he would be back in WWE, absolutely. WWE would pay him whatever he wanted. But the fact is, most people aren't familiar with Goldberg. That's the bottom line. Unless you're a hardcore wrestling fan, you're not going to know who Goldberg is. Bottom line. Alright, this is from W. Fisher. Hey Aaron, congrats on 200 episodes. With Monday Night Raw's ratings being some of the worst in 15 years, if they do not improve soon, could WWE make Raw 2 hours again instead of 3? I think that it's only a matter of time now before Raw goes back to 2 hours. I know WWE wasn't crazy in the first place about doing a 3-hour Raw, but USA Network wanted the 3 hours. But now that the ratings have been dropping and WWE is getting burned out, I think it's really clear that this experiment didn't work, and I really didn't expect it to work out in the first place, but I knew they were going to at least try it. But now that it's done, and the ratings are down, and people are losing interest in the product. I think it's time to go back to 2 hours. Just admit that you made a mistake and just move on. Go back to 2 hours and try to rebuild your momentum going into WrestleMania. If Raw's not 2 hours by January, I'll be surprised. This is from Maddie Don. You mentioned on NoDQ&A video number 199 that only Ziggler, Rhodes, and Ryback will be pushed next year. What about Cody Rhodes? Do you think he is deserving of a main event scene in the next 12 months? I know a lot of people like Cody Rhodes, but there's something about him where I just don't see him going to that next level. I think that he's a very talented wrestler, and he's fairly good on the mic and talking, but there's just something there that he doesn't have that I think puts him over the top to the next level. Now, there's no way to know for sure how far he'll go. I mean, he's definitely got potential, and somebody like Steve Austin had a lot of potential when he first broke in, but you never knew how big he was going to get. And you never know when somebody like Cody Rhodes might come up with a new idea for his character, or he might do something that catches on. You just don't know. But I don't know if, as far as him being deserving, he's definitely deserving of an opportunity to try to reach the top. But whether he gets there or not, it remains to be seen. I just don't know. But I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I don't know if he's the guy. Let's just put it that way. All right, that'll wrap it up for NoDQ&A video. Just want to say thank you one more time. Here's to 200 episodes, and I'll see you guys next time for episode 201 of NoDQ&A video.